school shooting was the darkest day of my life. I know when I went to bed that first night, I cried out to God and I said, "This is so awful." Anytime before in my life, I could always think, whatever happened to me, at least it's not as bad as so-and-so. This was as bad as it gets. I had never heard of a crime worse than what my son had just done this day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Terri Roberts. She's the mother of Charlie Roberts, the known as the Amish, I should say, school shooter. She's the author of Forgiven. She wrote about this, the Amish school shooting, a mother's love, and a story of remarkable grace. And Terri, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, October 2nd, 2006, your son walks into this one-room schoolhouse, shoots 10 girls, 5 of them die, then he takes his own life. And I've heard you talk about coming up to the driveway of your home, the state troopers are there and the whole thing. But let's get beyond the immediate reaction. As you sit here today and you look back, how could this have happened, or how could it have been prevented, if at all, do you believe?
Well, I wish we all had an answer to that. I mean, that is the unanswerable question. Had my son been able to open up as to whatever was troubling him, and over the loss of his daughter, and whatever was eating away at him inside, sure, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. But how do we keep these things from happening? The only way is to have people feel freer to open up. But I don't know that we can make that happen. We can encourage it. We can listen for signs, or when we see somebody that looks at all troubled. My son, to me, didn't look troubled, until the night before. So as far as how could we have kept this from happening, I don't really have an answer for that.
Well, are you at all bothered by the fact that, well, first of all, you talk about if someone looks troubled or whatever. I mean, there's a fine line. You lived with him and you didn't see any signs. I mean, do you believe people should be able to report somebody to the government if they think something is wrong? Do we want to live in that kind of society? Where do you draw the line there?
Well, I don't know that I have an answer for that either. My son didn't live with me for 10 years, he was married and had a family.
Right.
And so I only saw him on occasions when we got together. So it wasn't like that day in, day out. But I don't know. I think there's something about when we see anybody that maybe tends to go off to themselves, it's a good idea to check in. Not something that we're going to report them, that kind of thing. But just for everybody to be able to tell their story. And I don't know how we make that more applicable in our lives today. But when we can share what's inside, it keeps a lot of the hurt from growing in the wrong way.
And what about the other avenue here that I believe, politicians rush to exploit every time there's one of these horrific shootings? Even the San Bernardino terrorist attack, Obama and others ran to the microphone and started talking about gun crimes, and it's guns, and now they want to sue. Up in Connecticut, they're looking to sue the gun manufacturer of that horrific school shooting that took the lives of so many young children. Where do you come down on the Second Amendment?
Well, I don't really want to address gun control because that's not part of my story. My story is how we move forward in life and forgiveness, and how when forgiveness is there, we can move forward. So by my presenting my thoughts or opinions on gun control, I feel like then I would have people siding on either side, and they would completely miss the point of how we can respond when we are wrong. And really, that's what my story is about.
Right, but you forgive your son, or you forgive your son. Do you believe that the victims' relatives have? I may not know this. Maybe they have, but do you believe they should also forgive your son?
Well, I know that they have forgiven my son because I have an ongoing relationship with them.
Okay, maybe because they're people of a faith, it might be easier for them to do. I don't know that everybody could do that. No, but I'm just concerned. So you're not one of those who would say that that it's the gun's fault for instance? I know you don't want to get into the Second Amendment, but you don't blame this on the gun or the availability of that gun, do you?
The person. I mean, you can take lots of different instruments to create death, but yeah, you want to, I mean, for me, what I see is how do we move forward when we are wrong and how to keep the wrong from happening. I don't know that other than to have a person open their heart.
Right. All right, folks, a very moving book, a very touching book, and a very informative book. Forgiven, the Amish school shooting, a mother's love, and a story of remarkable grace. Thank you very much, Terri. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Give Me 5 is next, folks. Don't go away.